firm. Soon he was sending out commanding missives to ship captains and traders, acting with maturity far beyond his years. Shortly afterwards, he was adopted by a family friend, Thomas Stevens. Hamilton was only 14 when he wrote to his adopted brother, Ned Stevens, that he could not bear to think about groveling forever as a clerk because my ambition is prevalent. A poor orphan boy stuck on an obscure island, he nonetheless had his sights set high and would willingly risk my life, though not my character, to exalt my station. At the end of the letter, he expressed a striking sentiment. I wish there was a war. A war, he thought, might provide enough upheaval to take him away from the islands and give him a chance to show what he was capable of. It was not a war, however, but a hurricane that blew Hamilton out of the West Indies. After the destructive storm tore through St. Croix in August 1772, Hamilton wrote a vivid letter describing the damage and reflecting upon its impact. The roaring of the sea and wind, fiery meteors flying about it in the air, the prodigious glare of almost perpetual lightning, the crash of the falling houses and the ear-piercing shrieks of the distressed were sufficient to strike astonishment into angels. The letter was published in a local newspaper, both its prose and religious fervor impressing many. A minister took up a collection to send this prodigiously talented young man off to school in New York City. There he attended King's College, renamed Columbia College after the Revolution, and started studying law. In 1774, when the 19-year-old Hamilton gave a rousing speech at a mass rally for the Sons of Liberty, it turned heads. After the battles of Lexington and Concord, Hamilton joined a local militia company and began boning up on military strategy while writing fiery pamphlets in defense of the patriot cause. Slight in stature, with piercing blue eyes and red hair, he was already a manic overachiever, brimming with energy and restless impatience. Whatever the future held, he would make the most of it. George Washington arrived in Cambridge, Massachusetts on July 2, 1775, to take command of the Continental Army. Only 2 weeks before, the colonials had been roundly defeated at the Battle of Bunker Hill. Washington's job was to mold this motley collection of barely trained and poorly equipped citizen soldiers into an army. He set up his headquarters at a stately mansion in Cambridge that later became the home of poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. In early August, 2 young gentlemen from the Jerseys presented themselves to Washington bearing a letter of introduction from none other than John Hancock, President of the Continental Congress. The letter said they were visiting Washington's camp not as spectators, but with a view of joining the army and being active during the campaign. One was named Matthias Ogden. The other was a well-connected 19-year-old with a distinguished bloodline named Aaron Burr. Burr's maternal grandfather was the famous preacher and theologian Jonathan Edwards. His father, also named Aaron Burr, was the president of what would become Princeton University. Both his parents died when he was an infant, and he was raised by his uncle. Burr graduated from Princeton at 16, giving a senior oration in which he cautioned his fellow students against wasting their time on dreams and far-fetched schemes. Standing 5'6", with hazel eyes and a gentlemanly bearing, he was affectionately known to his classmates as Little Burr. He considered following in his grandfather's footsteps as a minister, but eventually decided on a legal career. He had just begun his studies when the war broke out. Washington was not ready to offer commissions to Burr and his friend Ogden, but he let them hang around as volunteers. Despite having come down with a fever, Burr volunteered to join an expedition being led by Benedict Arnold to seize Quebec City, a British stronghold. Later to become famous for treason and treachery, the headstrong Arnold was already a war hero for his role in helping to